Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday encounter in a typical life of an Aspie, I should say. Excuse me. In the last part of the part 4 series that I'm doing about basically on the world of differences, as you're fully aware that I am bringing out a topic that will be sensitive and also hopefully will create an awareness and understanding, as this is the main aim and goal here, basically on the different conditions that I'm hoping that I would like to address, basically not just my AS but other conditions that I suffer from, and maybe that other people out there that suffers from, to just hopefully create an understanding and knowledge, and hopefully that they'll feel accepted, appreciated and wanted, which is the main key point here, that we need that, as well as people to be empathetic, not sympathetic, as I addressed in the last piece. Also in the last piece, however, I said basically that ADHD is obviously an invisible disability like basically AS, and that sometimes that also another key thing to be aware that when it comes down to being clinically diagnosed with AS, I've noticed with me, basically it's just to remind you that sometimes that with AS it's covered up with other predispositions of conditions that involves with this, and sometimes we have been misdiagnosed at an earlier age sort of thing, because as I said before, there's a lack of knowledge and understanding pretty much based on these conditions that are coming out and about, and many questions as to why it's happening, of the misdiagnosis, as well as why there's so many other people around us that has these conditions sort of thing, and it's going to be probably well known or well grown also basically of people having these conditions that they're not aware of until a later date in their age basically. And what I've realised that sometimes in this day and age also though, that when it comes down to it, that with these diagnoses, pretty much some of the, well, not symptoms as such, but the conditions that are involved around us, that when we are misdiagnosed, doesn't clearly show in a young age. Some of them will just prerequisite in the later stage of life, you know, in adulthood, or even when we are, you know, old and stuff. Sometimes it's best to hopefully find ways to get diagnosed early. The earlier the better, I reckon, to get clinically diagnosed, so then hopefully we know how to treat ourselves basically in a way of, you know, treatment plans to get us involved, or also the therapies or what have you, just to actually support us, you know, and all. So, and all further ado though, this is part 2 of the world of differences of ADHD socialization, okay, series. This one is pretty much going to be titled The Need for Socialization for People with ADHD. So, as I said before, people with different conditions, as shared, wants to be felt accepted, appreciated, wanted and loved, you know, by their peers, as well as just hopefully being able to fit in. It's not easy, I'll admit that, because I do have a lot of struggles still with my AS and other predisposition conditions that I'll be sharing hopefully on my journey, basically. Okay, another point I want to address to you before I continue is, in that last video, basically I talked about how people with ADHD is like everyone. The struggles briefly about what happens to people with ADHD. The lack of understanding and knowledge and know-how basically, as well as the awareness, hence why I'm doing these videos, hopefully as one of them, taking that leap of faith and obviously giving you guys pointers. And like I said, hopefully it's not going to sound too judgmental or critical or what have you when I'm sharing them. 3, briefly to make life easier people with ADHD. So I might be a voice for the ones that are got ADHD and other conditions. I don't know, but many people have told me maybe I should be like a mentor or a stand-up voice to support them, not. And overall is the impact of social interaction, of the key factors, what would happen if we didn't actually accept them into our circle. Okay, part 2 begins now, of the need for socialization skills for people with ADHD. It's required through incidental learning during our developmental stages in life, be it when we grow up from baby to adults. As we get older, we tend to match people by mimicking or copying each other's behaviours and how they interact with each other. Like I said in my video, that with me, I sometimes, when I socialise, I sit down quietly, observe my surroundings with the people around me, I'm not trying to judge or criticize here, but this is just how I work. I sit down thinking, now, is this how I'm supposed to be acting, sort of thing? It's like a film strip, and it's like I have to, as I said before, also on the term shape-shifting, building up different characters for different plays, sort of thing, that will fit into everyday situations, be it, you know, if they're happy and no in that crowd or whatever it may be, even though sometimes mimicking can lead to consequences. But anyhow, sometimes it's also important when we mimic, however, of these behaviours, how they talk, how they act, etc., is practicing and receiving feedback. You know, feedback can be crucial in this. It's like a child is playing like grown-ups. Even though sometimes people with ADHD, when they're out there trying to mimic their surroundings and people around them, I notice that sometimes that many of us kids that suffers with different conditions, we tend to act like we're grown-ups even though we're not, and sometimes we act like that and then time slips by that we don't get a chance to be kids, you know. I don't know if people have seen that. Children with ADHD, however, often miss a few details and cues, as they'll tend to pick up bits and pieces of the information that has been given to us at any given moment in a stage of time. And then when that happens, when it's received, they see what fits to them, like in a puzzle. And yet sometimes many people may think they're just doing it on purpose, but it's not. It's just how they work. Bear with me. This is like a lack of overall view, basically, of social expectations that is needed. In adults, however, this is really sad. They do realise something is missing, like a missing piece of the puzzle, but they're never sure what it is, that something. Maybe, you know, so they'll try and maybe fit something in, and then, like, it doesn't fit, and then they'll try it again, and it doesn't fit. So it's like an ongoing battle there, sort of thing. Social acceptance can be viewed as a spiral going up and down. Imagine that as a spiral going up and down of social interaction for many of us. But as I said, for my social interaction, it's like a roller coaster of emotions wrapped into one. Social acceptance, some individuals, I should say, with ADHD does show appropriate behaviours and social skills will be rewarded by gaining more acceptance from those who they interact with, however. People with ADHD, however, is encouraged to develop even better social skills. Social skills spiral, I have mentioned before, tends to be a downward spiral for the ones that suffers with ADHD. Peer rejection, as I said before, for people with ADHD that lack social interaction will limit their opportunities that's not given or taken to learn social skills. What I mean there is that sometimes when people with ADHD try to socialise, they tend to find it really hard, as I said before, to fit in. Sometimes they'll just mimic the behaviours around them, and then sometimes they act like they're someone else, and as I said before, ADHD is another invisible disability or condition, and sometimes they'll mask what they're really feeling. Sometimes some ADHD sufferers may not be able to actually share what they're feeling. You know, they'll say what they mean and mean what they say, so to speak. Social punishment, okay, is basically a real bad word, but this has been used, includes rejection and avoidance. Right, as a big no-no or turn-off, however, for people with ADHD is that people in general don't let the offending individual know about their social violation, be it whatever they're doing wrong. You know, sometimes it's good, as I said before, the feedback situation, as well as like what I said in one of my videos. If I did something wrong, tell me, and then like as I go along, hopefully when I'm gathering that information and data of what you're giving me or talking to me about, be it a particular topic, I would give you feedback or also a rerun of assurance and confirmation that I've got everything right before hopefully I continue on my day of, be it, for example, if I was in an office and I was struggling on something and I needed help, hopefully someone would clearly give me instructions, because I'm all about instructions here and lists of what to do of importance, you know, and then the not importance, if that makes sense to you all. In that perspective, that hopefully that how it works for me may work for others. I don't know of what I'm saying here, but with these lists of what needs to be done, of the most importance to the least importance throughout my day, is like I might have that as well as maybe a checklist, and if there's a deadline that needs to be done, sometimes I try to push myself to get that deadline sorted out of the way, and hopefully it will reduce the stress levels for me. Sometimes I procrastinate, sometimes to the point of, what the hell am I doing? Am I doing it right? Uh-oh, you know, and then sometimes, you know, like I said, I read between the lines differently, and this probably goes for the people with ADHD as well. Sometimes it's good to point out the social error that is being committed. Sometimes also, though, sometimes it can be socially inappropriate. So what I mean here is, when a person with ADHD, getting tongue-tied, guys, that basically when it happens, if they've did something wrong, do not point the fault at them like any other condition. Do not point that they're doing it wrong. There's a right way and a wrong way to approach this situation. Just sit down and talk to them and say to them, hey, such and such, I won't say any names here, just, hey, such and such, you're doing this wrong. How about we'll work along this way of doing it and see if this will work for you. You know, it's all about hopefully maybe seeing if you can actually work with them, not against them, so to speak. It's like many people I've realised in my social circle has been struggling with certain things, like be it whatever it may be, and I feel that at the end of the day that no matter what, that they should at least feel accepted and appreciated like anything else. This in turn, however, will leave people alone to try and improve their social skills on their own without the understanding or knowing exactly what areas that needs improvement. Again, as I said, feedback and reconciliation of gathering that information that we were given in the first place of what is said and done is important to me. Anyway, many people may think that it's not the case, but that's fine. Everyone's different. Okay, children and adults with ADHD research. Okay, this is what I've done my research and homework on, and also just based on what I've learnt with my conditions. There are many social challenges along the way in our everyday lives for anybody who suffers from ADHD and the like, okay? But I just want to address to the ones that suffers from ADHD for you guys. And the two main important ones are the disturbed relationships with their peers, as I said before in my last video, be it, for example, if they're in a classroom setting and they're really hyperactive and they're not fully attentive on the work at hand. And then number two is the difficulty in making and keeping friends. Right. What can be done? Treatments and therapies to be used. I'll just briefly share this, even though there's going to be more on the piece and pretty much part 3, but I'll say this now. Social skills training, I reckon, is a real important one. So what entails on that one is like you doing a role play, you know, you're being in their shoes or they're being in your shoes, vice versa, you know, giving them verbal instructions of what needs to be done throughout the day. Some of them may be able to cope with verbal instructions, but be aware with these verbal instructions, keep it sharp and short, basically given to them. And the demonstrations of the target behaviour, which means basically watch their behaviour, how they react or interact in the social environment that they're in, basically. Positive feedback is also crucial in this part of the social skills training. Parents and teachers interaction pretty much is learning at home with everything, starts at home before they go to school. Okay, so all the social skills training that I'm entailing in the next piece over though, basically, as we know, in our everyday lives, everything starts in the home, what we learn. Basically, how to, you know, get up in the mornings, do our shoelaces, be it brushing our teeth when we're young, you know, all those little important things until it leads to the big things. Okay, to note here before I wrap it up is that with social skills training, however, this can and has been improving children with ADHD of the knowledge of social skills, however, and social behaviour at home does improve. Many people think that if they're in a familiar setting that they're too comfy and they don't want to leave their nest. That's true to a point, but sometimes I feel that some people just need to understand that everyone's different, you know, in their stage of life of whatever they're going through, you know, be it whatever age in life. Like I learnt, basically, I wanted to gain my independence young, even though I'll admit this now, I was a rebellious teen, arguing now and again with my parents, you know, about what I wanted to achieve in life, and then they didn't accept some of my decisions, but then again, they just try to support as best as they could with these decisions at hand, even though some of the decisions I made may have affected them and others around me, as well as suffering the repercussions. But anywho, Also, another point to note here is medication can help to a degree with the people with ADHD, yet it's with the right environment of people, obviously, that will be their start to do this, of actually the socialisation. Well, that wraps up part 2 of the socialisation skills of the need for socialisation of people with ADHD. Pretty much, and the next part 3 is symptoms and social skills, basically. Help me, can you cure me? What is wrong with me? It's got to be the title. It will cover more briefly on the treatments and strategies or therapies that can be used, sort of thing, and the like, hopefully, to let you know. As you know, like, comment, subscribe. The contact details are below if you want to follow me on Twitter or on Facebook of my AspieAnswersAll. But remember, all the time, as I keep saying, keep it user-friendly on that page. PM me if you want a topic that may want to come about in my series or on my Beauty from Ashes series, because I'm hoping to do some more on my Beauty from Ashes channel as well. So I'm balancing up 2 channels in one, which is going to be a challenge, but I'm liking the challenge here. And also, just remember, be real, be true, be you, and love yourself, and I'll see you all soon.